All right, welcome to our second event. I think there's a few more people than last time, huh? So yeah, second event, evenings at the beach house. Tonight's topic is on manifesting money. A topic that's very high in demand. So last week we talked about stepping into your power. Last week the talk went almost like 75, 90 minutes. And my goal is to have more of a discussion atmosphere. So tonight I've shortened the slides, shortened the content, got right to the point. I find that interactions, such as with Abraham Hicks, how many people here know Abraham Hicks? Pretty much everybody good. Yeah, a lot of us have been at events. So when you have events like Abraham Hicks where the audience is asking questions, the discussion is much more fluid, and the discussion has a tendency to match the vibration of the audience, right? So for me, when I'm putting this stuff together this morning, I'm putting together what comes to me through my inspiration and my experience. But I'd love to hear from you guys. So anytime during the presentation, if you have questions, put your hand up, throw a pen at me, interrupt me if you have to, if I don't see you. And then after we go through the content, I'm guessing there's probably half an hour's worth of content. Then we can just have an open discussion about, money blocks, money struggles, and even anything else law of attraction related that may not even be related to money. Sound good for you guys? Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's begin. So tonight's agenda is money, right? First, we're going to start off with a bit of an intro. We'll jump into the basics of manifestation because I can see tonight there are some people who may be very new to this material, and of course some people who are more advanced and have been to some Abraham Hicks seminars or have worked with me. So intro, we'll look at the basics of manifestation. Then we're going to look at the top 5 money blocks, right? If you're not manifesting money, then obviously you've got one of those 5 blocks. And we're going to dig into all 5 of these different types of blocks. We'll follow that with the Q&A, and then maybe we'll have a dance party. And by the way, the last time I did a seminar on money, it was a 5-week program, and in the middle of the very first call, somebody interrupted me because they unexpectedly received an amount of money. There was an email that came in that she noticed in the middle of the call, and she interrupted me. She said, "Oh my God, I just manifested this amount of money." Right? So sometimes just the slightest subtle shifts in your vibration can put you in the receiving mode to let stuff in. So before we dig further, a little bit about me. Just in case some of you are wondering, who's this Nick guy and why did my friend drag me here? I've spent 10 years in tech. I played a key role in a tech company that was acquired for $330 million US. That's when I left the tech world so I could focus on this role full time. I've spent about now the last 5-6 years focused on self-help, personal development. I do keynote speaking. I've worked with one-on-one clients in over 20 countries. And my passion is really helping people practically apply a lot of the spiritual teachings and spiritual concepts and law of attraction. Because a lot of people study this stuff for years. They understand this stuff at an intellectual level, but when it comes to the practical application of the concept, it's a whole different story. Right? So my goal is really not just to teach the material, but to get people making the big shifts that transform their lives so that people are experiencing the physical reality they want to experience, right? People who are in the world of spirituality think that it's all about meditation and they're trying to almost escape from reality. But the truth is we came here to experience physical reality, right? The joy, the expansion, all of it, right? And in my opinion, it's time for people to step into their power and start experiencing everything physical reality has to offer. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Good. Cool. All right, so let's dig in. So what are the top 3 desires in the world of the law of attraction? Anybody have any ideas? And for me, it's obvious because whenever somebody comes to me for work, it's always one of these things. 3 things. Anybody want to take a guess?
Money.
Money.
Health.
Health?
Love.
Love. Perfect. Bang on. All-star student. And by the way, okay, so here I've got them listed. So the top 3 desires. 1 is money, by far. 2nd is relationships. 3rd is health. 4th is probably career. And 5th, it's not hot dogs. I just saw this picture online. Somebody put a video of how I manifested hot dogs. So I don't know why they did a video on manifesting hot dogs.
I'm going to leave here and I'll be craving a hot dog.
Yeah, we'll see how many hot dogs I can manifest.
Hot dog with ketchup.
Or veggie dogs.
A long one.
So, the fundamentals of law of attraction, right? How do we really create our reality? So, reality is a complete reflection of what's in our attraction point, right? Our entire reality is a mirror of our thoughts, the emotions we carry, our feelings, and where we're putting our focus. Okay? If you've got a circumstance going on in your life that is contrasting, that you're not happy with, that you want to change, those are the 3 things you need to look at. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And where's my focus? Right? We are more than just our physical selves. Right? There is a non-physical aspect of ourselves too. Right? Some people call it your inner being. Some people call it the universe, God. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but it's about having the awareness that part of us is physical, part of us is non-physical. Right? And reality is a co-creation between our physical selves and our non-physical self. Right? Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Our purpose is joy, expansion, rediscovering who we really are, right? That's what we came here for, right? The non-physical is the all-knowing part, right? Part of why we came here is for the joy of discovery, right? So when you're in the non-physical and you know everything, right? You can't discover the new, right? You can't experience things for the first time. Right? So part of the joy in physical reality is the ability to discover. I mean, for me, one of the most satisfying experiences is expansion. Right? It's learning new things. Right? It's traveling to places I've never been to. Right? So that's part of the reason why we're here. Right? The joy, the expansion. Right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. So law of attraction success. It's not about learning how to attract. So when people first learn about law of attraction, they watch The Secret, they think that it's all about, I'm going to focus so hard on my desire, it's just going to show up in my reality. Right? And the truth is that it's not about attraction, it's about allowing. Right? So once your intent is set for a desire, your inner being, the universe, whatever you want to call it, already has that desire on the way to you. So the reason it's not showing up is because we put a wall up. Right? We're the ones creating resistance that prevents the desires from coming to us. And that's the real work that's involved in law of attraction. It's not about affirmations, it's not about vision boards, even though those things are fun, right? And they help with the intent setting. It's about identifying the parts of yourself that are preventing the things from showing up. Does that make sense? Any questions about that so far? And that's the biggest mistake that introductory level law of attraction students make, is they're busy trying to attract, and in reality, the things aren't showing up because they're trying so hard to attract. Right? And we're going to talk about that because it's especially the case in the context of money. Now the last thing to talk about is the difference between alignment and vibration. Because those are 2 terms that people kind of blend them together, and there's actually a significant difference between the 2. Does anybody want to try to take a guess? The difference between alignment and vibrational match? Okay. Alignment is the level of connectivity between you and your inner being. Okay. So joy is our natural state. Right? This is where we're at when we're born. This is where we're supposed to be. Right? Joy is like the Wi-Fi signal between you and your inner being. The happier you are, the stronger the connection with your inner being, right? That's alignment. That's the state of alignment. That's when you're in your power. That's when the synchronicities happen often. That's when your intuition is strong. That's when, hopefully if you're in the receiving mode, things come to you with ease. Right? That's where we're meant to live our life. But unfortunately, instead of being up here in alignment all the time, everybody's down here bouncing around with their emotions. Right? And people who study self-help, they're doing affirmations, they're trying to think positive, and sometimes they can lift themselves up into alignment, and they may experience some angel numbers, some green lights, some good parking spots, but then they go back down here. Right? So for a lot of people, it's the lack of the vibrational consistency up here that's preventing the big things from showing up. Right? Can anybody guess what's holding us down here?
Our ego.
Ego, yep.
Fears.
Fears, beliefs.
Self-doubt.
Emotions is the big one, emotional baggage. Everybody's walking around with emotional baggage they don't know they have. Right? The example I use is a dishwasher, background noise. So as a child, if you had a very judgmental parent who always made you feel like you were never good enough, you get so used to feeling that feeling of I'm not good enough that it becomes background noise. You stop noticing that it's there. Right? Those are the things weighing people down. Most people have, I would say, 1 to 3 dominant negative emotions, and those are the emotions that once you clear them, you float back up here naturally. Right? Alignment becomes natural. It's not efforted. Right? Yeah.
So how do you get rid of that? How do you come to terms to find which vibration is off?
Yeah. So how do you identify those emotions?
Yeah. I mean, where do you go with that?
The process I use with my clients is once you understand that reality is a reflection of what you've got going on, look at all of the circumstances in your life, past and present, and what negative emotions those bring up. So for example, if I look at work, what's the toughest part about work? How does it make me feel? What's the toughest part about my relationship? How does it make me feel? What commonalities is there in all of my past relationships, right? And how did those make me feel? And with about 80 to 85% of the people who do that exercise, it's the same emotions that keep coming up over and over and over again. And those are what I call dominant negative emotions. Right? So for example, like if you've got a relationship, in my relationship book, Single No More, I've identified 5, I call it the archetypes of attraction, and they're the 5 patterns of relationships that I see most women find themselves in. So one of them is not good enough. So women who feel like they have strong emotions of not good enough often attract partners who are maybe very judgmental, might often cheat on them. So they find themselves in circumstances that make them feel not good enough. Right? People who attract relationships where the partner is never there for them or very emotionally disconnected often had a childhood where the mother or father figure wasn't very present either physically or emotionally. Right? That's what I call the abandonment pattern. Right? So I've worked with enough people where I noticed those patterns in relationships. Right? So by looking at your life circumstances and by asking those questions of how do those circumstances make me feel, you'll start to notice a pattern of emotions, and shifting those emotions are literally one of the most life-changing things you can do once you clear them out. Does that answer your question okay?
Yeah, it is. Well, how long does it take to do?
Everybody's different. So for me, typically when I work with clients, it's on a 3-month basis.
Okay.
And one client can come in and they're ready to go, they're okay being vulnerable, they're okay feeling their emotions. 2 or 3 tapping sessions and they're clearing stuff left and right. Another person might come in and they might be more closed up and they might have fears around feeling their emotions. So some people it takes 5 or 6 tapping sessions just to get them comfortable with the process of feeling your emotions and letting them go. Right? So everybody's different. Obviously the younger you are, the less baggage you're going to have to clear, so it might be a little bit less work. But what I remind people of is that we're not born with any of this stuff. It's all stuff we pick up over the course of our life. It's not permanent. It's never permanent.
And the reason why I was asking that, Nick, is because I've been to this one, I've been to that one, I've been to this one, and, you know, it's like, where do you stop?
Totally.
Because you know, you're thinking, okay, well, if I go see this one, maybe this one here is going to be the last one.
Yeah, it's,
And you're still stuck with that baggage that you didn't even know which way you're going.
yeah. And like, you know, different people respond to different types of practitioners and different modalities and different things. I've had people tell me that 2 sessions with me was more effective than 10 years with a psychiatrist. Right? So, not to say that, you know, psychology or psychiatry doesn't work or anything like that. Different people respond to different things in different ways. My approach is I understand that. So the way emotions work is, let's say you come home at the age of 10, you fail the test, and your parents are really hard on you, right? They yell at you, they ground you. At that time, you make a decision. I'm just not good enough. I can't please them. I'm not good enough. It's like a wall that goes up in your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
I make the decision, I'm not good enough. First comes the perception, the decision, I'm not good enough. Following that perception is the emotion. Because remember, Abraham Hicks says that an emotion is just an indication that what you're perceiving is not in alignment with your inner being. Right? So perception comes first, emotion is next. Right? Now what happens for the rest of your life is because that perception is there, you're pushing against that feeling of I'm not good enough. And sometimes you can make yourself feel bigger than that emotion and you feel better, right? But most of the time, you get that feeling of not good enough. And what happens is it's energetically exhausting because that emotion is always there, you're always pushing against it.
No.
Right.
Right.
The real way to shift an emotion is by taking the perspective and invalidating it. Because you can sit here and you can do meditations and you can do a whole bunch of things to lift you up and feel good every day. And sure, it's going to be a lot of work. But once you identify the perspective and invalidate it, that wall is gone. There's nothing to push against anymore. You're back to your natural state of joy, good enough, whatever it is. Right? So you don't have to build up positive emotion. You just have to identify the perspectives that are holding the negative emotions in place.
Yeah. All right. So after the session or next session, then I'll go and make my way to see you.
Yeah, we'll have a chat.
I don't have to walk in my house or anything like that.
I mean, this is work that everybody needs. Right?
Yeah.
This is stuff that some people it creates anxiety, some people it creates depression, some people it creates money blocks, relationship blocks. It impacts every single aspect of your life, right? For everybody, right? And if people had the awareness of how much this stuff impacts your life, everybody would be doing this work, right? It's just people don't have the awareness, right? But we're learning, right? I gave a talk at UNB to 300 doctors and nurses last year, talking about some of this stuff, right? Were they jumping for joy and were they like hugging me off the top? No. It's going to take them some time to process what I said, but it's planting seeds, right? One step at a time, work on yourself. And people are going to ask, wow, you're so much brighter, you're so different, what did you do? Oh, I dealt with some of the emotions I didn't realize were there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
We're saying a lot, we haven't even gotten to the money stuff yet.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
Basically, I'm not aware of this one. Basically, emotions is the clue.
Yeah.
And if you work with your emotion in a good way, you will improve your inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The better you feel, the better it is for you from a healthy standpoint, but it's also going to improve the circumstances you attract to. So yeah, emotions. If somebody came to me and said, Nick, what's the one thing that I need to look at from the context of law of attraction to improve my manifestation ability in my life, I'd say emotions. Hands down, emotions. Any other questions about that?
No, we'll just finish this now.
Okay, so
I like the monkey.
what I was getting at was alignment versus vibrational match. So that was alignment. Alignment is the level of connectivity between you and your inner being, right? Vibrational match is the understanding in the world of law of attraction that everything is a vibration, right? And you attract what you're a vibrational match to, right? Almost like the channels of a TV, right? So if I'm on the emotion of not good enough, I'm going to attract relationships that make me feel like I'm not good enough, right? That means I'm a vibrational match to those circumstances, right? Once I shift that not good enough feeling, I'm on a new channel I'm going to attract new circumstances. Now I'm a vibrational match to those circumstances. So alignment and vibrational match are two different things. Alignment's the connectivity. Vibrational match is what frequency am I emitting, what channel am I on, which defines what I'm experiencing. And that channel is defined, again, by the thoughts, the feelings, and your focus. Does that make sense? You guys get the difference between the two? Because a lot of people kind of think it's the same thing, and it's not. All right, let's talk about money blocks. So I've categorized money blocks into 5 different categories. 1 is emotions. 2 is fears. 3, it's beliefs and expectations. 4, it's focus. And 5, it's not being in the receiving mode. So money block number 1 is negative emotions. As I said earlier, reality is reflecting back to you the emotions you're carrying. So if take a second and think about how much money do you really want. So pick a number that would make you feel comfortable, maybe 100,000, 500,000, 10 billion. So think of the amount of money that you'd like to manifest and ask yourself, how would you feel if you had that money? Right? If that money showed up in your bank account right now, how would you feel? Anybody want to share?
Soulagé.
So relief. Relief is typically the number 1. Freedom is typically another one, right? Ease.
Be stress-free, that's what.
Stress-free. Relief.
Yeah.
So how much time in your day-to-day life are you in the emotion of relief and freedom versus a whole bunch of other crap?
None.
Remember earlier I talked about you need to be a vibrational match? If you want to be a vibrational match to wealth, you need to be dominantly in the emotions of relief, freedom, and ease. Right? Those are the emotions you want to reach for. Right? Because if you're in stuckness all the time, and money makes you feel free, those are 2 different vibrations. Right? You can't experience one and be in the other. Right? So it's about searching for things that bring you the feeling of freedom. Right? And the freedom doesn't have to come from the context of money. Right? I can get up and I can go for a walk on the beach today. That feels free. I can get in the car and I can go to Sobeys and buy myself, wings. Right? I've got the freedom to do that. I've got the freedom to make tea. Right? I've got the freedom to go lay on the porch outside. Right? Can you think of just a few things that bring up the feeling of freedom? Right? That's all you need to start doing. Start tuning into freedom, tuning into relief. Right? That's going to make you a better vibrational match to finances. Make sense? So people who have emotions as a money block, it's typically the emotions of stuckness, the emotions of powerlessness. Powerlessness is a big one in our area. The number 1, possibly, it's at least in the top 3. It probably dates back to the deportations and a whole bunch of stuff. And people who typically have the emotions of stuckness and powerlessness also typically might have lower back issues. That's a sign that that's one of your dominant negative emotions. The 2 physical symptoms that are most common are neck, shoulders. Neck, shoulders is stress, pressure, not good enough. Lower back is powerlessness.
I got both, so yeah, I need your help.
I'm sure you're not the only one. Any questions about emotions as a block for money? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So number 2 is fears. Fears create what we call split energy. Split energy meaning part of you wants it and part of you doesn't. Split energy is very common in relationship blocks. So, for example, if you're in a relationship where your partner is very controlling, to the point where your subconscious mind becomes afraid of being in a controlling relationship, then there's a chance that you get split energy in terms of attracting another partner if that relationship ends. Right? It typically creates like an energetic wall where you're not attracting partners, or it creates a self-sabotaging pattern where you'll get into relationships, but then you'll start to subconsciously do things to mess it up. So that's split energy. So in the context of money, I'll give you a couple of examples. So I worked with one client who money was coming in, she had a really successful business, but money was going out as fast as it was coming in, and she couldn't understand why. Right? So we started talking, we started digging, and the root cause was that she kept spending all of the money, because if she didn't spend it, it would fall into her husband's hands. And she didn't like the way her husband spent money. So at a subconscious level, it was safer for her to spend the money coming in before her husband had a chance to get his hands on it. Right? Another example, this is another subconscious block. I worked with a business person who noticed that her business was doing well, but as soon as she was about to sign up a high net worth client, a big gig, she would sabotage it. And we started chatting, we weren't really getting anywheres, and she kind of mentioned in passing that her father had passed away when she was like 8 or 10. And she said, oh, but we don't need to go there, I've seen psychologists, it doesn't trigger anymore, it's all good. And I said, okay, but go back and just tell me, what happened. And she said, well, I came from a very wealthy family. My dad was a super successful businessman. And, at that age of 8 or 10 or whatever it was, a family friend made an offer to my dad. He said, this is a business venture that cannot fail. No way, it's risk-free, you have to do it. So her dad put all of the family fortune into this sure-shot business deal. Of course, it wasn't as sure-shot as he thought it was. They lost all of their money. Her father developed PTSD and passed away from a heart attack. Right? So this little girl at the age of 10, her subconscious mind decided, oh crap, look what happens when you have a lot of money. Money's not safe. Right? That was the root cause of her self-sabotaging pattern. Right? These are the things that create the money blocks that most people aren't aware of. Right? Typical fears around money and split energy. What will other people think of me? Right? Will I screw it up? Right? Who will I become if I have all that money? Belief, maybe I'll become a target. Right? Bad things will happen. These are all common money blocks. If you want to get an idea in terms of what fears you might have around money, ask the question. If I had all of that money that I want, what's the worst thing that could happen? Simple question. Right? How does having that money feel unsafe? Right? And if there's an answer that pops into your mind, right, there's a chance you've got split energy. Right? That's a fear you want to deal with. Right? Because if you've got a fear of, oh, if I have money, I'll be judged, then vibrationally there's part of you saying, I don't want the money. Right? And the universe, the inner being sitting up here going, okay, well, part of her doesn't, part of her wants it, part of her doesn't, what do I do? Right? And it doesn't show up. Right? Make sense? Have you guys thought about this stuff before? A little bit? Yeah. All right, money block number 3. Beliefs and expectations. So, reality is a reflection of what you believe to be true, right? If you're at a place of 100% expectation, right, 0% doubt, and this is what I talked about with Abraham in the hot seat in Boston last time, right? It's got to happen, right? When I got in the hot seat, I said, okay, I've been in the hot seat the last, 5 times I've been to Boston. There's less than 1% chance to get in the hot seat every time. It's easy to manifest. It feels like a choice. How do I make everything else a choice? Right? And she confirmed, yeah, manifestation is a choice, right? But sometimes creating expectation is not that easy, right? But if you can fully expect it, it will happen, right? So if you believe money is hard to earn, what's your experience going to be? It's going to be hard to earn. If you believe I need a job to make money, well, you're going to need a job to make money, right? If you believe I have to burn myself out, right, to make a living, that's going to be your reality, right? So a lot of these money blocks with these beliefs and these expectations are to ask yourself, what are my expectations, right? Money's no different than oxygen. Vibrationally, they're just two different vibrations. Do you have to do anything to earn your oxygen? Right? It's just there. Right? Money's the same thing if you can become a good vibrational match to it. If you've got an expectation that money just comes to me. Right? Last month I had 6 different sources of income. Right? Books, Forex stuff, one-on-one clients, investments, speaking. Sometimes I throw a website together for somebody. Right? I don't have to go slave at a 9 to 5. I know that money can come in so many different ways. Right? Taxes, inheritances, lotto. A few summers ago, I won on 10 out of 12 lottery tickets. Right? In like 6 weeks. No big tickets, so there's still something I got to ship there. Right? But I crushed the odds. All due to expectation. Right? You guys have any idea in terms of how do I identify what I'm expecting? No? If I need a brand new couch and it's falling apart, lots of people need couches, I guess, and I'm not going out and I'm buying it because I don't feel like I've got the money for it, what expectation am I putting out to the universe? That I don't have the money, it's not going to show up. Right? Now, I'm not telling you guys to go out tomorrow and go buy, Lexuses and Ferraris and spend all your money on everything, right? But there's a balance there between wobble and expectation, right? A lot of people put aspects of their life on hold because, well, the money's not there yet, right? But take everything as far as you can without the money being there, right? I'll get you a second, yeah. In the paper, I remember reading last year an article about a girl in St. John who won like a big lotto 649. And do you know what she was doing when she bought her ticket? It was a 19-year-old or 22-year-old single mom. She was out shopping for houses. She didn't know what she was going to buy. She didn't know what she could afford. But she was in that action step of shopping for homes, gassed up her car, grabbed a lottery ticket, and won the money. Right? So if traveling is what you want to do, start planning your travels with the expectation what I need to do the travels I want is going to show up. Right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Expectation is huge. Right? And when you're not acting on something, or acting on something that you shouldn't, look at your expectations. Why am I doing that? What am I expecting? What should I expect differently? Right? And remember, an expectation is just a perspective. Right? You can shift your expectations. So go ahead, Crystal.
It's funny about the couch because I've been wanting a couch for the last 6 months, and if it was just up to me, I'd go buy a couch, put it on Visa, pay it off, whatever, because I really want that couch.
Yeah.
But what happens when your partner is so stuck in his beliefs that you have to save the money before you buy something, and we just keep butting heads?
Okay. So your belief about the couch and manifestation is in the right place, but your belief about your ability to shift your husband's perspective isn't where it needs to be. Right? So lately I've been doing an advanced, it's called In the Rabbit Hole program online, and it's about understanding that we're the full creators. And this is something we looked at last week, was the 5 stages of co-creation. One being that you're not aware that you're a creator. The second stage being that, what was the second stage? Remember? It was watching The Secret. So you start to understand that you're a creator. Then you kind of get frustrated with the process because it's not working, because the secret is incomplete. And then you let it go. The third stage is deeper spirituality, where you start to learn about crystals and reincarnation and Reiki and every modality under the sun. The fourth stage is what I call the Abraham Hicks stage, where you're the co-creator. So reality is a mix of what you want and the guidance you believe you're receiving from your inner being. And then the fifth stage is what I call the full creator. And it's the realization that you are your inner being. You are all of it, and all of it's inside you. And once you have that level of awareness, you understand that other people's decisions and the way they impact me is still something I'm creating, right? So for you, you don't necessarily have to look about your perspectives and beliefs around the manifesting the stuff, but for you, it's about shifting your perspectives and beliefs around your husband. Does that make sense?
He's very stubborn.
He's very stubborn? That's a perspective.
Yes.
And that brings us into the current reality loop. So, and I think I've got it on the next slide here. You guys weren't here last week, but this is what I call the current reality loop. Okay, so you think of this in terms of your husband. You guys think of it in terms of money.
Manifest another husband. Pick your problem.
He's a good husband. He's tired.
He doesn't want to buy cars.
Say good stuff and we'll make sure we share the recording with him.
I'm going to make him listen to this.
So, number one, so on here on the chart, number one is a circumstance occurs. Okay, the example I used last week was you get home and your partner's really pissed off at you because you left dishes in the sink before leaving for work. So that circumstance, you allow that circumstance to define a meaning. So you choose, you decide, what does that circumstance mean? So meaning A is, wow, I'm just not good enough, I can't please my partner, I screwed up, I'm such a bad person. Okay, let's go with I'm not good enough. Meaning B could be, oh wow, my partner's having a really bad day, I rarely do that, it's not my fault, they need to chill out. Right? So those are two different meanings that you can assign to the circumstance. You choose. Right? Once that meaning is defined, it creates that perspective. Right? The perspective being, oh, I'm just not good enough, or the perspective being, nah, they're having a bad day, they need to chill out. Right? That perspective fuels your emotional state. Right? I'm not good enough, now I get that feeling. Right? They're having a bad day, nah, I feel fine. Right? Now that emotion is now in your attraction point. Right? That defines what you're going to attract next. So if you chose the perspective of I'm not good enough, or if you chose the perspective of my husband is stubborn, what circumstance is now reality going to reflect back to you? More stubborn husbands. Or more stubbornness from a husband. Right? That's what creates momentum. Right? Because people get stuck in this loop. Not good circumstance, I'm not good enough, more not good enough circumstance, I'm even more not good enough, and the loops keeps going over and over and over again. Same thing with money. Right?
But what happens if you know you're good enough? Like, I've dealt with all that. I know I'm good enough. It's just, and when he does stuff like that, I'm like, that's his issue, it's not mine. Like,
So my guess is you have an expectation of he's going to say no, or he's not going to listen to me. Right? Can you think of one time you expected him to say no and he said yes?
Maybe he did something I forget what it was.
Me too.
See?
The surprise.
But see, here's a good example where she's in the vibration of the solution, or of the problem, because her friend here was able to see, I can remember a time, right? But she can't. Usually when you're in the energy of the problem, that's what happens. You can't see it. And that's why working with a good practitioner is useful, because a good practitioner holds the energy of the solution. Me, if I have shit to deal with, I go to Anik and she runs a session on me and vice versa. Right? Because when it's your own stuff, it's very hard to see. Even a lot of coaches and a lot of practitioners get stuck on not solving their own issues because they believe, well, this is the type of work I do with everybody else, I should be able to solve it for myself. And it's very difficult to solve your own stuff. Not impossible, but it's a very long road compared to calling up a friend and say, hey, can you do a session on me? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions about the physical reality loop? And the physical reality loop is huge in the context of money, because the block number 4, which is focus, is everybody's so focused on the lack of money, they're attracting more lack. Right? You've heard the saying, what you resist persists. Right? And the reason money is such a challenge is because when's the last time you went an entire day without having to use or think about money? right? So most people are so focused on trying to solve the problem, they're stuck in the energy of the problem, right? So one of the top things you can do to get out of that cycle of lack is stop giving it attention, right? Notice all of the abundance around you, right? One day, a couple of summers ago, Nick and I were sitting on the patio here, and when we go down for a walk on the beach, usually we'll find like maybe 4 or 5 pieces of beach glass. And I sat down, and one of the exercises I do is I write the word abundance over and over again. Did that for like maybe 20 minutes. Abundance, 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 abundance. Tuned into the feeling of abundance. We walked down on the beach, came back. We literally came back with 2 huge handfuls of beach glass, right? Because I got myself tuned into that vibration of abundance, right? So in your day-to-day life, are you tuning into what it is that I don't have, the lack, or what it is that I do have, the feeling of abundance? And if you can stay in the vibration of abundance on any topic, from beach glass to the amount of water you have abundantly to drink, to the abundance of oxygen, and away from the topic of lack of money, away from the topic of money in general, that's enough. That's enough to put you to a vibrational match of abundance that will apply to money and everything else. Right? Sometimes it's the little things, little tweaks that are going to make a difference. Every time you put out that thought of, I don't have enough, well, that's what you're fueling your reality with. Right? So here's the number 1 money tip after working on your emotions. Stop trying to work your way out of lack and work your way into wealth. When you're trying to work out of lack, what are you doing? You're pushing against lack. You're activating the vibration of lack. When you're trying to work your way into wealth, right, what feels lighter, out of lack or into wealth? So do you guys feel the vibrational difference?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you guys? Good. So from like now going forward, stop trying to get out of debt, right? Start trying to work your way into abundance, into wealth. Make sense? And the final money block, number 5, is not being in the receiving mode. So energetically, there's always a give and take, a giving and receiving, an in and out. Right? And a lot of people, they're so focused on outputting all the time, always helping people, always on the run. There's an imbalance in the giving and the receiving, right? If you're not meditating, right? Meditation is being in the receiving mode, right? You can measure your receiving mode by the level of satisfaction, right? For those of you who were with us in Boston last month, and you were in Boston too, Abraham Hicks is on a huge satisfaction kick. And it makes perfect sense. So anytime you feel satisfied, you're in the receiving mode, right? Anytime you feel dissatisfied, you're pinching yourself off. That goes for money, that goes for inner guidance, that goes for anything else you want. So again, your ability to receive is directly proportional to your level of satisfaction, right? So in your day-to-day life, how satisfied are you, right? Are you more in dissatisfaction or are you more in satisfaction? A lot of people ask, how do I let it go? Right? I know I'm over-efforting, I know I'm focusing on the desire too much, how do I let it go? Right? Get satisfied. Because if you're in the state of satisfaction, you don't care whether it's going to show up or not because you're too busy enjoying life. You're too busy being satisfied. And when you're too busy being satisfied, you're off the topic, and guess what happens? The stuff shows up. Right? And again, we talked about this last week, but like the number 1 piece of homework for you guys, practice looking for satisfaction. Wow, that was such a satisfying vanilla soybean latte from Starbucks. Right? Well, my grass is perfectly cut. That's so satisfying. Right? That was the most amazing dish of lasagna I've ever had. So satisfying. Kind of like going back to food. Right? Satisfying conversation. Right? Anybody have a question about that?
Is it like the same as gratefulness?
So there's gratitude,
Oh yeah?
then appreciation is a step up from gratitude,
Okay.
because there's a difference between gratitude and appreciation.
Okay.
With gratitude, being grateful for, there's an energy of I don't have.
Uh-huh.
Right? So when I say I'm grateful for that plate of nachos, there's an energy of not having the nachos in that statement. Can you guys feel that? A few people can? Yeah. I'm grateful for the food on my table. Right? Can you feel that energy of, oh well, there could not be food on my table?
Yeah, you kind of think of others that don't have it.
Exactly.
So really, that's not a really good thing to be saying every time you eat something.
Gratitude is good. Appreciation is better.
Okay, so just change the fact of what you're
They're
saying.
slightly different. I appreciate those nachos.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? I appreciate how loving my dog is. So there's a slight vibrational difference there. And then I would say satisfaction is the next level above appreciation. Right? Because, oh, I appreciate these so much, but oh, they're so satisfying. Right? Would you rather be in a state of appreciation or satisfaction? What feels best? I would say satisfaction. Right? If appreciation feels better, then go for that. Right? Because emotions are your guidance system, so it's always about whatever feels best.
Well, that's where you got to start off, right? Because you got to change from one thought to
Absolutely.
another one instead of going from here to here.
And that's a fine-tuning process.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go downtown Moncton and you tell some people that they should start tuning into appreciation, that might even be hard for a lot of people and a big jump based on where they're at now.
Yeah.
Right? So sure, going from a negative headspace into appreciation might be a big jump, but then into gratitude might be a big jump. But gratitude to appreciation is a smaller jump, and appreciation to satisfaction is another small jump. Right? It's all momentum. It's all, daily practice. What can I reach for? What feels good? Not being hard on yourself if you can't get there, right? But allowing yourself to be where you're at and slowly work your way up that emotional guidance scale.
I had a question for you, Nick.
Yeah.
All these things that you're mentioning, it's nice that we're here and we're hearing everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
Is there a chart or something that we can just kind of look at or
For
study?
the emotions?
Yeah. You know what I mean? To give us
if you-
ideas to where to start and where to go.
There's a chart called the emotional guidance scale. So if you measure the vibration of emotions and you rank the emotions based on their vibration, joy ends up on top. I think grief or shame ends up on the bottom. And basically the emotions, when you order them based on their vibration, they go basically from the worst feeling to the best feeling. And Abraham Hicks calls it the emotional guidance scale. There's a book, Power versus Force by Richard Hawkins or Dawkins. He's got his version of it in there too. They're almost identical.
Okay.
If you do a Google search for emotional guidance scale, you'll find it. It'll come up.
Okay.
I saw that today, but I don't know where.
Oh yeah, if you Google it online, it'll
I'll
come
share it
right
on
up.
the group.
It's
I
on the
saw
Google
it.
image.
Is it?
Do
Yeah.
on Google
I'll
images.
share-
I don't know where I saw it.
We'll share it in the
Email
Facebook
or
group.
Okay.
Facebook?
Cool.
So does anybody have any questions about satisfaction and being in the receiving mode? Right. If you want to practice being in the receiving mode, meditate for 15 minutes a day, right? And then shoot for satisfaction. Since Boston, Nick and I have made an extra effort to be in satisfaction all the time, and it's super paid off. Right. Yeah, go
When you
ahead.
say meditation, do you guided meditation or the silent one like Abraham does?
Depends on the guided meditations you do. So I've got my embody meditation. I get all my clients to do it every day. It's at nickbrow.com/embody, which is to help you embody the desires, which is really good. So that serves a bit of a different purpose. So what I tell my clients ideally is do the embody once a day and do silent meditation for 15 minutes a day. Now, silent meditation I don't want to say it's hard, but it takes practice.
Yeah.
I'll last maybe 45 seconds before my voice kicks in. I'll go back to silence. 45 seconds, go back to silence. Just sit in a room, look for a noise, dripping faucet, air conditioner, waves, lawnmower, crying baby, as long as there's somebody else who can pick it up. Find a sound you can focus on and just sit there for 15 minutes and see how good of a job, set a timer on your phone. For those 15 minutes, see how good of a job you can do at just focusing just on the noise. That's all you gotta do. Do it at work if nobody bothers you at work. Look for a sound at work and just sit there for 15 minutes.
Even better is focusing on your breath.
Focusing. I have a hard time focusing on my breath, but a lot of people like that.
Like you just do like either 5 in, 5 out, or
Okay.
whatever
Okay.
long you want to. I find just tuning into that rhythm is easier than listening to a sound for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Cool. So does anybody have any questions about the receiving mode or getting in the receiving mode? Does that make sense? I can't remember if there's anything that comes after this slide.
I got something that I want to bring up that I have actually started doing that's really helps. You know, when you're actually working a very busy schedule throughout your day, you're not even thinking of stopping for a second and taking a deep breath.
Yeah.
Right? It's very important just to stop everything that you're doing and just take a deep breath and just relax.
Slow down. Yeah.
Yeah, relax for a second.
Yeah.
But when I have a minute, like when I'm not dealing with kids, you know, like I drop them all off and I'm waiting for some more, I'll sit in the bus and I'll just
Chill.
hone down.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can now because I've tooled myself to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it works good.
Yeah, something that I have to do often when I meditate, and I talk sometimes about clients about this who are often in their head a lot. So right now, take a second and see if you can pinpoint where your consciousness sits in your body.
Who are you?
Where can you feel where you are in your physical body? Right. For me, I kind of sit like up here. So can you guys feel where you are in your physical body? So for me, I'm analytical. I'm in my head a lot. I'm up here. The ideal place to be, I think, is more down in your chest, in your solar plexus, right? So for me, when I meditate, I'll usually take some deep breaths. And as I exhale, I try to drop my consciousness back down into my body, right? So those of you who are meditating, if you find that you're up here, that's something you can practice, is to try to recenter and reground yourself and bring yourself back down into your body. Can you guys all feel yourself where your consciousness sits?
There.
Yeah,
Busy.
yeah.
Busy.
I think based on how society works, based on social media, based on the hecticness of day-to-day life, we're all up here.
Yep.
When I think our natural place to be is more down in our solar plexus. Would you agree with that, I think? Yeah.
And when you can bring yourself down here,
Yeah.
within that 10-15 minutes,
Yeah.
when you're done, you're meditating, the pressure's gone here.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Yeah. What I tell people who are having panic attacks is become fully present in the now. So feel your now. Feel yourself right here. Feel this expansive moment and work your way back down into your core. Right? Because typically if you're having anxiety or panic attack, you're way up here and you're scrambled.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about ground, recenter, touch a base with the now, bring yourself back down into your body. So money block number 5, last point. Be so satisfied you don't give a shit if the money shows up. Right? Well, people here don't mind swearing. So that's it.
Where's the money?
Where's the money?
Where's the money?
Okay,
So,
I'm gonna,
You got a question?
I'll ask something,
Yeah.
yeah. My parents' situation, they have money, and I'm not talking, I'm not talking a lot, but they
Yeah.
have some money, but they don't spend the money. They keep it there for whatever,
Okay. Yeah.
I tend to be like that too, and
Yeah.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
And I probably have money that I could buy things or do other things, but I'm not. It feels good because it's a cushion, but
Yeah, it's typically, so a lot of our programming can also be learned behavior from our parents. So it comes from either circumstances or experiences, maybe traumas that create the programming, or learned behavior from our parents. So if that's something you're looking to shift, ask that question. You know, if I start spending more of that money, what's the worst thing that could happen? Right? How does that feel unsafe? Right?
I could have fun.
I could have fun. And how does fun feel unsafe?
Yeah, really good.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
What's that?
Satisfying.
And how does satisfying feel unsafe?
Feels good.
Right? So it's about going through those layers, and sometimes you have to go through 5 or 6 layers before you find that real root. Oh, that's why I don't want to do that. And sometimes you can tie back to a childhood experience or something your parents said. Make sense?
Yep.
Good question. Anybody else have any questions about money or any law of attraction topics in general?
Every morning I do my gratitude list.
Yeah.
I do my meditation. But I never thought of doing satisfaction or any the expectation that I've done and I've received whatever I was expecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh. But sometimes I think it's so easy, but how can I do it for bigger things?
Yeah, and
you can almost feel I got it.
You know, tonight I went over a lot of different things, right? So what I would say is like, pick the one that resonates the most with you. And the one, you know, that seems like it's the hardest to do is probably the one that you need the most, right? And you made a good point about expectation, because a lot of people get stuck expecting more of the same, right? They keep expecting, my husband has been stubborn for the last 8 years of our marriage, I'm going to expect him to be stubborn tomorrow, right? So we create this expectation. I'm so happy you're here. We create an expectation that the same thing is going to happen over and over again. And when we have this expectation of similarity, then we're just going to keep experiencing the same thing. But what everybody needs to realize is that every single now moment, and you're in a brand new now moment every millisecond. Every now moment is a completely brand new moment where you're at a completely brand new vibration. You guys are not the same person you were 10 seconds ago, 15 minutes ago, an hour ago. Your vibration is always changing, right? So start expecting your circumstances to change. Start expecting new things based on your expansion.
So by knowing this, that you are not always there in the now, because you're always shifting,
Yeah.
your energy is always going. So by just thinking that way, then you can almost switch to that positive way of thinking to come out of the negative thoughts that you have.
So if you're driving your bus tomorrow, right, go into the bus thinking, okay, I'm at a new vibration, I'm at a new place today. How are things going to work out in amazing ways for me? What new amazing things can I expect to happen today?
I want to find another dime.
There you go. Why not 2 dimes?
Well, I've come up at 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Put it up to a loony or a toonie.
No, but the dimes are fun though.
Right?
Well, like I got a handful of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
But anyways, it's the same for me now. It's just like every time that I'm taking these seminars and stuff like this, I kind of let go of the feeling of not having.
Yeah.
Like I got paid this week, and it's like, wow, I got another paycheck already. Like, wow, thanks for the money, but I don't really need it. Like, it's just flowing, and like the jobs are coming and the money's coming, and it's
awesome.
Like, I'm not even doing anything. I'm not even asking for anything.
And that's good. So that's probably been ramping up since Boston, right?
Yeah.
So keep expecting.
It's just a different flow.
That's the momentum. So keep expecting more. Keeping in the energy of satisfaction. Keep asking yourself, what else is possible?
Yeah.
Is
It's
that
just different.
I just wanted to share that because I know I went through a lot of things last 2 years. My life turned upside down. I did sessions with Nick, What kept me, like I know I have things I still have to do, probably from my baggage from when I was younger. What kept me on the right track is the morning practice. Every time I get up and I do it, even if I'm in a hurry, I take the 5 minutes. I just do a little ritual. I've done Reiki, I have my levels and all that, but it's just I do something. I do that, the Abraham Hicks morning rampage.
Yeah.
Just sets me off because it's as if I'm like, oh, it's a new me. Oh, I have a new day today. Like, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it gives me that energy.
I'll share that audio in the Facebook group.
Yeah,
too.
I think it's really good. And I think when you get on that first part, when
Yeah.
you're happy and you
Yeah.
see the sun, I say, oh, thank you, and it just feels good.
Yeah, you're setting the tone for your day,
Yeah.
right? Most people, so when you wake up, your mind is in a neutral state, right? So most people, when they wake up, they start thinking of all the crap they have to deal with, right? The deadlines, the boss, getting the kids ready for school. They automatically start shifting in a negative momentum, right? So if this is your level of alignment, well, if you wake up here and you start going in a negative momentum, then you're down here.
Yeah.
And then if something bad happens during the day, then it's going to weigh you down even more, right? But if you start off with that positive practice, you're going to boost yourself up this way. And when you're up here and wobble happens, it pulls you down a lot less than if you're down here and wobble happens, right? It's called getting out ahead of it, right?
You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just don't want to take over.
No, it's good.
It's the same thing as for myself. Like I put something in practice here just a little while ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, a month ago, is I wrote down some notes. So every morning when I get up, I take my little notepad and I say, God, guides, departed loved ones, help me to create my day today. Remove the obstacles out of my way so my day will flow good. I surrender my how's it go? I surrender my need to control. Lead me where do I need to be and to where I need to be the most. You know what I mean? It's just something that pumps me up,
Yeah.
sets me up
Yeah.
to feel better.
Absolutely. And this stuff doesn't have to be hard work, right?
No.
Take 5 minutes, do some intense setting. Over time, it might be a pain in the butt for the first couple of weeks, but you get into a groove, you get in a routine, and the benefit far outweighs the 2 weeks of effort you put in to get started. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Expectation can be hurtful too. Sometimes it could be the worst. They say, oh, well, you expected that, so you didn't get it, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's more the vibration of like disappointment. And in that situation, if you get somebody that's hard on you, understand that, I came here to live my life and my reality for me, right? They're allowed to choose their perspectives, but I don't have to let myself be influenced or convinced by theirs, right? There's tons of people who think that all of this stuff is complete hogwash, right? I know without a shadow of a doubt because I've been experiencing it for the last 15 years, teaching it and working with people for the last 5 or 6, right? Somebody comes on the street, comes up to me and says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, all this stuff is mumbo jumbo, it doesn't work. Well, sure, that's the reality that they want to believe in and that's what they want to choose, and fine with them. And I get to choose whether I let that influence me or whether I don't let it influence me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Something I've been telling all my clients lately is you came here for you. Right? A lot of people have this light worker mentality or this save the world mentality, right? Just because I know all of this stuff doesn't mean that the responsibility of the world is on my shoulders. Do I wish everybody would learn this stuff? Absolutely. Is it everybody's path? Absolutely not. It's perfectly okay for somebody to choose to live their life in anger and in struggle. That's okay. That's their experience. That's their path.
I find it's hard when you deal with your family. Because I see my 2 daughters, there's like, I know one's an old soul, I know the other one's not, and I sometimes have to think, oh my God, it's her life, it's, she came here for a reason, and you have to do your thing, and it's so hard, I find, like with, even with parents. Or,
Absolutely, yeah. And the best thing we can do for them is like, live by example.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Show them how amazing life can be to the point where they're like, okay, I want what you got.
Yeah.
Right? That's all we can do. And trust. Trust that their contrasts and their circumstances are going to trigger those phases of growth that we want them to experience.
I have a 14-year-old and And I've caught myself saying, like, she wants this, she wants that, you know, and I say what my mom used to say, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
like, I'm saying the same thing that mom used to say.
Yeah.
And it's lowering the vibration too, right? Like it's saying.
Yeah.
So, how can I change that?
Good question. Because I've got
How
kids
can I
too.
tell? Yeah.
My kids aren't at that point yet.
Yeah.
But it happens. I don't have an answer for that.
Well, I can share a little story.
Yeah, go for it.
Because my older daughter, she's like, you know, more perfectionist and all that, and I find like she's like maybe not. She has to learn more things maybe, but they kind of learn through me, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm more open and I talk about things, all positiveness and all that. And anyways, and when we talk about money, well, of course, she lives at my house and I'm alone in my house, so, you know, and I'll say things like that, and then sometimes I remember, oh my God, I can't say that. So then I'll say, well, you know, think of the little things you have that you're grateful for. So she likes to go to the gym, and like we paid her membership and all that, so she had a contest on Instagram, so all of a sudden she won $500 worth of things. And then I said, well, you see, Jenny, I said, like, when you think positive and all that, and then she won 3 times after that. So I kind of kept that going. I said, when you keep positive.
Kids are so powerful because they don't have the
yeah, and then she thought about, and then she went in Quebec and something else. I said, see, like, just continue. So you can't teach them, but sometimes it's hard.
Abraham Hicks has a series of books called the Sarah books. I started reading it to my kids last year. But they're law of attraction. They teach law of attraction, but they're like fictional books. It's about a girl and her owl, who's really a spirit guide, right? And it teaches about the concepts of law of attraction. So if your daughter's into books, I don't know, 14, if she's outgrown that stuff. I'm trying to get my daughter to read them again. But it's called the Sarah series.
But even as adults, maybe that's some of us need to start at
Absolutely.
kids level to understand.
Whatever resonates.
They're really good books. Yeah, I read all 3. They're really good.
Did you read them?
Yeah.
When you were here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Lack of communication here. There's a fine doing in there.
Any other questions?
Well, if I can just share this, I learned this from you many years ago. This never left me because I'm not going to say guilty, but it was a statement I would always make when something awesome would happen. I'm like, you know, it can't get any better than this. It can't get any better than this.
Yeah.
No. Don't be saying it can't get any better than this. Say, how can it get any better? You know, how can it? And I have so meshed that into my life. And in March, April, I ran away to Dominican for 2 weeks. And everybody's going like, oh my God, this is so amazing. How can it get any better than this? I'm like, no. You know, bring it on, you know, let's just change this up. So anyways, at the very end of it, I kept in my head, I'm thinking, how can I come back? Like, how can this all happen? I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't know where I'm going to get the money. But I'm telling all of you guys, I'm coming back here.
Expectation.
I set it up, and I'm like, I'm coming back. So on the plane, I'm looking out the window, and we haven't left the runway yet. And I'm like, how can I come back? Like, let's make this happen. I'm coming back. I don't know how, don't know when. Make it happen. My seatmate has a condo that I'm renting, and I'm going back for a month in November.
Awesome.
And I hadn't left the runway yet, you know, and it was just like my whole time, it was like, change the way I think, change the way I think. Expect it, ask for it, and it will happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to our perspectives and our expectations. Everything from the emotions we feel to what we focus on. It's all about perspectives.
So we can all come with you in November? You have a full condo?
How many rooms? Start creating some expectations.
Sounds good.
Go ahead, I think you had a question there.
Well, how about decision, making a decision? Is it the same thing, like expecting?
I think so. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Like, in reality, expectation is an emotion. right? So knowingness is an emotion, expectation is an emotion. Decision to me feels more concrete, but a decision is a choice, which is, yeah, so I would say very similar if it's not the same. Yeah, because you can choose with authority, right? I can choose, I'm going to Dominican with 100% expectation or authority, or I could choose with less authority. So yeah, kind of. I'd have to think about that one a little bit more. Good questions, guys, and good comments. Good shares. Anybody else? No, we're exactly an hour and 10 minutes. Maybe we'll wrap it up. Last chance. Going once, going twice. Cool, awesome. Shorter than last week. That's good. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for all the good questions. Hopefully we'll have a recording online in the next couple of days. Feel free to hang out for a bit, socialize. The goal of these events is to create community and get people chatting, connecting. So grab a tea, grab some water if you want. Sit out on the deck, enjoy the beach. Enjoy the rest of your night. So thanks for coming, and maybe we'll see some of you guys next week again.
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Did you put anything in the rabbit hole about where the other site is? Because I still can't.
No, I haven't had a chance. It's on my to-do for tomorrow.
No worries.
Because I've gotta find an e-learning platform. So I gotta upload it somewhere where everybody can still get access to it.
Am I the only one?
You're the only one that's mentioned that problem. Yeah.
Because I didn't bother listening to 4 and 5 because
Now-
I couldn't get. I got through 1, but I can't get through 2.
Now here's something weird. Over Facebook Messenger, I sent the kids on the video and I sent it to Nick. They played fine with on mine, played fine on hers, and then Frederickson on her document. There was no audio. So Facebook is doing something to videos. So what I'm doing is I'm going to find an e-learning platform that's free that you can just go to it and log in, and then you'll have access to it.
Oh, because I've been waiting to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I'm planning seminars in London and Copenhagen, and that's been taking up all my time this last 2 weeks. But now I'm announcing it tomorrow and that's done. So I'm going to get those videos.
And there's no way that, I'm not positive, so there's no way that I can get into it and save it under another source?
Yeah, I don't know. No. But yeah, I'll message me tomorrow night or whatever, and I should have them.
Yeah, because I'm so anxious and pumped.
No, they're really good.
Yeah.